Good evening. This is Tom Brennan in Studio 13, and we are here with the body of Bob. And indeed, the consciousness of Bob is here. It was here preceding the body. It will be here after the body has left. But now the body is here. And you intuited that the body would be here today, and that's why you showed up. Bob Dobbs, media ecologist, communicator, a man that will show you, even as he speaks, you will see that thinking can be fun.
Ooh.
Bob, you know, we were talking about Norman Mailer in the first show many weeks ago, and when they levitated the Pentagon in 1967, I think it was you who were telling all those people, put it down, it's just a building, it's just an edit. Would you just put it down? Don't take on the weight. And shirking all the umbrage that we have gathered as baggage seems to be a key Bobism.
That's
the
right.
accumulated baggage, you know, you have to get into the stadium and dance, and you can't if you bring your BMW laden down with baggage into the parking lot.
The important point to realize about that phenomenon, October
again, yes.
67. I wonder what the date was. Was it the 22nd? I'm not sure. October 67. The key point for me in influencing that operation was Walter Boward. I mean, Hoffman and Rubin, the Yippies, talk about their role there, but the hidden ground to that event was Walter Boward, the later author of Operation Mind Control, and he has not been given the proper credit for creating the scenario there. He was the original archetypal Yippie before it was conceived, and he, like a true Yippie, has remained out of the media. And he's not a media Yippie.
Something I've been really curious to ask you.
And
you might be the
Walter.
only one that knows.
It was through Walter that I was able to affect that situation.
Let's go back even farther in time, before time ended, linear time,
Yeah.
in 45. We're 43, we have this pastoral cover story of LSD. We have Hoffman just riding along on his bicycle.
I was in the
beautiful
lab.
Switzerland countryside.
Ooh.
Now, would you tell me, Sandoz, if memory serves, and I've read anything about World War II, Switzerland, was under Nazi dominion at that time.
No, it was neutral.
But you never hear this.
No, Switzerland was neutral.
Was it entirely neutral?
Oh, yeah, even though
There was no penetration whatsoever into Sandoz laboratories.
Switzerland was the fulcrum of the world government. They were running the world government. That's why Alan Dulles spent his whole time in Bern, Switzerland.
Okay, so you have Jimmy Carter later in The Blood of Abraham. The only book I've ever read by him, incidentally.
Yeah.
Except for the Playboy interview where he lusted in his heart.
He said,
He said he went to Zurich in '78 and he met all the world bankers, quote unquote, who run everything. Probably the first time an American president ever said that.
yes, that is true. But it's after everything's disappeared in '77, so it doesn't matter that
Doesn't
he said
matter, okay. So the admission doesn't make anybody less culpable.
Oh, no, you can, that's why, you know, Stone's movie came out. You can tell the truth because content truth is not approachable in any communicable form today anthropomorphically. Humans cannot express the truth. It doesn't mean there is no truth, but they don't know how to communicate, and that's what the role of the subgenius is to, and I'm the inventor of that, is how to communicate the truth in a situation where the truth basically cannot be communicated. Marshall had a great phrase he learned from me. Communication of the new is impossible.
Is that right? Can I ask you something, Bob?
No. Now I remember. Now this will get into the Walter Boward Operation Mind Control, why my brain conks out every now and then. Communication of the new is a miracle, but not impossible.
Right, but you did that for us because you know the audience needed to relax in that passage.
Oh, that's right.
You had to get to the spit valve and blow all the
I
phlegm
did
out
not lose
before you
control
could,
at
No,
that
not at
point.
all.
That
You
was
had to
the
change
resonant-
reeds.
Silence, John
Somewhere
Cage.
number 5, yeah, exactly.
The resonant interval had to be communicated. Now that's truth. You see, it's not silence. You see, it's silence, but it's not verbal silence, it's electric silence.
Well, your body is always remarkably silent even while you are expressing
Yes.
verbally. Which
Me
is a
in
good
particular?
thing. Yeah, you
Yes.
in particular.
Yeah.
Bob, am I a sub-genius because I read and write as fast as other people watch television? And is that a good thing?
I was saying to Jerry the other day that the subgenius phenomenon is the chief feature, to quote Gurdjieff, of the baby boomers or the TV generation. You see, genius is efficient causality. That's the industrial evolution. When we moved into software communism, everybody becomes post-hardware and software. Sub-genius.
2 computers in every garage?
Yes. Now, even before the computers. So everybody in the TV generation, the baby boomer generation and more, are sub-geniuses automatically. Now,
The born with original sin.
right. The
Or original syndrome.
The original discarnate syndrome. Yes.
Or even the drone.
Ooh, that's the Ant-Man Bee from Beefheart.
Exactly.
The 3 phases. Ant is hardware.
All humanity goes down on its knees looking for a little ease. That's
gotta-
the slack.
You got to look
They're
at it
looking
like,
for slack.
Yes, but ant is hardware, B is software, man is the interval. That's the first nature which extended either one socially. And those are the two archetypes. There's so much in Beaver's poetry which resonates with the information he got from knowing me and Frank and what happened in Lancaster. But coming back to your point, which was what? The subgenius. The thing is, we're all subgeniuses. Bob's here to wake up the Finns, wake up the subgenius. Why are you a subgenius? So yes, you're a subgenius, but it's not something you want to be without understanding the causes of it. Then you can be a truly comprehensive subgenius, and you be both a Nelson Thal version of Bob and a Reverend Stang version of Bob, and the new interval, the person in between, the new Bob that's unfolding now since 1995. Mm-hmm. So are you a subgenius in relation to what I just said?
At this point, I am.
Yes. But it's not a desirable condition always.
If I know the names, yeah.
Yes.
Which leads to the next thought. You know, Brennan has said that pop culture, which you invented.
Grant Brennan. Grant Brennan, I played hockey with him, you know, Grant Brennan. He became an alderman in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, you know, and Grant was a weird guy. He had the G, and key people in my lives have a G, so he had G. Brennan, him and Billy Barton.
So the show finally received a grant.
We went to Rhode Island.
The show finally received a grant.
Right. And
but are you handling the money? Am I the client or are you?
Am I handling the money? Bruce.
IMF, all the way, baby.
It's tactility, the original feces. But the point is that we went to Rhode Island, again? And 20 years ago, my favorite song, Muffin Man, I was on stage with Beefheart and Frank, and after I went back and I talked to either Bruce or Tom Fowler, and he says to me, do you think the Mafia's headquartered in Rhode Island? And that was where I went in 65, 66 with Grant Brennan. And 30 years later, I'm here with Tom Brennan.
Wow.
Now, go back
what
to...
an interval that was.
Yeah, talk about Brennan. You were just starting to say.
Interlude and overload.
That was a broke spiral.
All in one sentence.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
Brennan.
A Mebius strip.
Mobius.
Mobius.
Well, unless you want to put the maybe factor in. A Mebius strip.
If I put Mobius, and then we get that white whale, the ego again, chasing after the unnameable.
Hunter Thompson, yes.
Yes.
The great shark hunt, you know.
Well, anyway, now that we have a face on Bob, or
Yes.
Bob has put his face on us,
Yes.
pop culture, which you invented. It seems to me it's a series of baseball cards now in the spokes, and the bicycle almost can't ride anymore. It has so many face cards in there.
The bicycle, page 293 of Finnegan's Wake. That's the key image. See?
We didn't plan this, you did.
The bicycle. Do you see it?
Yes.
Now, what did you say about the bicycle?
Pop culture itself
Yes.
being a bicycle. Now there's too many images, too many identities, like the baseball cards with faces that we used to put in the spokes when we were kids. And the bicycle can't move anymore almost. What is pop culture? Where is it? What is it doing now?
Well, the present issue of Flipside has an explanation of pop culture for 5 pages in an interview called Entertainment Sucks. That explains pop culture, but basically pop culture is, in the 19th century, women ran culture. Mm-hmm. They created the schools and then the upbringing, nutrition for the kids. When radio came in, which trumped out the feminine principle because it created the effect of a male patriarchic retrieval, Hitler, Mussolini, and everybody.
Right. Which led inevitably to World War II.
Right. You had the first pop star, Hitler, as David Bowie pointed out in his Playboy interview in 1976.
But that was mediated by drugs.
Right. Right. And
so was Hitler, for that matter.
Basically,
there you get to the Masons and the Thule Society in Munich, but then
Warhol's a retrieval of Duchamp. Duchamp is a radio era, so pop culture is the content of the television. It's radio as a content, and therefore it's man, or the male takes over culture. All right? The woman drops to the side. Now by 67, when Rai returns to essence, women get pissed off, and women's live. They want to hijack a disappearing situation, and hence the confusion. But basically pop culture is the 20th century version of mum culture of the 19th century. So that's it in a nutshell.
Excellent. Pinching again.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
No.
All right.
The perfect pinch.
So we get from this the evolution in Pynchon. You know, we have V. You know, Benny Profane. He works with Shroud, the synthetic human. Then you also have V turning out to be a synthetic human. This leads to the inflatable dolls of current day, you know, which everybody's becoming. Yeah. We have Crying of Lot 49, which is Thurn und Taxis, the secret postal societies, and Beware the Horn.
Visual space, the letter in Finnegan's Wake.
Beware the Horn, make a jazz noise where? I don't know, wherever the horn isn't.
Dweezil and Ahmet, shampoo horn.
horn. And then we get on to Gravity's Rainbow, man subsumed by technology. You have a protagonist, Slothrop, who has a penile implant from DuPont, which causes him to get an erection and know where the V2s are going to land. And he's used as a cipher on the big grid to know where the next bombs will be, since nobody will hear them. They're faster than the speed of sound. And then we get into Vineland, which is a blandly written book to satisfy all those who read Stephen King and other blandly written books. He does a whole textural change, flip over into that bland style so people can really read it, but everybody's sort of bored because it's Pynchon. But it has to do with TV and tubal detox and the archetypes of TV.
Didn't that come out in 1990?
1990.
Ooh,
how does that fit in with the Bob cosmology? How does Pynchon's evolution fit in with the Bob cosmology?
You did a very, I don't know if anybody else had done as well, but you expressed the role of Slothrop. Slack, think of sloth as slack.
Right.
Slothrop is the way he was used as a robotoid probe, organic robotoid probe for the fourth level and first level, as I explained in Bob Musicology Squared of tetrad management. You really explained the role I had to play from 44 up till the 80s.
Were you comfortable in that role?
Yes, because, and this brings in Walter Boert, I've been accused of having something to do with somebody named Bob Dean. But I know nothing of a Bob Dean. I never heard of him, and I don't know what it is.
Who is this guy?
Well, this is what I think. That the issue has come up because maybe some programming that was put into my penis, or my...
You as well. You want a Slothropian situation.
Oh, that's the point. That's what I was trying to say, is that you describe the Harry of Harlot's Ghost. I mean, Pynchon does it better on the high-tech level.
This begs up the Harry question.
Well, but let me finish it. So I was once asked in one of the seminars that Fialco ran with a postgraduate situation with me, disconnectedly, I once explained that I cannot remember what happened in 1966.
Why?
And
but you did in
July
another
20,
show remember Dylan's motorcycle accident.
That's the point. I don't know why I remember that. So there's suspicion that
Dylan doesn't remember the accident either.
That somebody put something about Bob Dean in my brain and I'm not allowed to remember it. There's something about that. That's a very curious thing. And it resonates with whatever. You could say that every 22 minutes of Bob's life has a theorem lattice that's resonating and revealing the higher hypothesis. And we started off talking with Walter Boert and mind control, not knowing that we'd get to this issue.
Okay, that's the question.
That you'd bring up Slothrop.
Well, Gravity's Rainbow, so you get into S&M, which later Zappa was to explore.
Yeah.
Pynchon's theorizing through one of the characters that S&M leads to personal freedom. Away from government doing those things to you, you can now do them and have people do them to yourself. And the Harry thing, Harry later at Harlot's Ghost, you have Harry and Harry as a boy in Thingfish, a Zappa work talking about the feminization of the American male, which you don't have to worry about.
Which we talked about at the beginning of this show, which I don't have to worry about. Right?
Being Canadian. But now we're worrying about your penis. I'm sure the audience is, because Bob is ineluctably irresistible to women.
The penis dimension.
Being an Earth Mother yourself.
The penis dimension. I'm quite a fantastic lover, and
Are you the plastic fantastic lover of ships and airplane cosmology?
No. The point is from 1990 to 2020, since lockdown Bob rule has already happened, then you're going to see an incredible battle between Bob and Connie in the effort to reappear everybody.
But why Connie?
To act out. Oh, that's the dialectic. See, part of the lockdown Bob rule appears to be a male retrieval, a patriarch.
So that's why you understood conjury in a previous show, as no one ever did before.
That's right. It's like Connie.
Right.
Connie. So I have my Canadian Connie to deal with like you did. And so you will see OJ, the OJ Nicole symptom, relationship will be
OJ symptom.
It will be a grade 4 picnic compared to what's going to happen between Connie and I. And of course, part of that will be the video footage release of me giving great sex to all the people who will love the tactile image of Bob. You know, that's inevitable. But Connie knows this because we already settled it before 1990.
But so she should be comfortable with that because you already give great sex via the warmth of your radio presence.
Oh yes,
retrieving radio for the fireside chat. Fireside indicating coupling on the rug in front of the fireside.
Yeah, that's
which the butler used to do in the manor house.
You got it. Now the thing is that's radio Bob. Now we got TV Bob,
which is an immense area.
Yeah, which creates.
So this battle, is it going to be the Bob evinced a lot of violence against women on Twin Peaks, which left me very uncomfortable.
That's all about this. It's unbelievable. Remember, when Bob says on that first CD that says, Dad, don't bring in. That's a private tape that Tom Touche stole. And he says, when I was 10 years old. Now, that would be, since he says in 1959 when I was 10 years old, that means Bob was born in 49.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bob Dylan would like to promote that with his self-portrait album, Days of Gold.
49,
Days
yes.
of 49, the gold. Now, the point is I was born in 1922. But Twin Peaks points out that how long has Bob, he channels through, or Mike channels through the one-armed man, and they ask Mike, where is Bob? He's in the Great Northern, that's Canada.
Right.
And then you get the Hosers in the Great White North. But how long has he been in the Great Northern? For 40 years, almost 40 years. And this is about 1989, Twin Peaks.
Right.
February 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 1989. It's 40 years after 49. And so the interesting point of the 40-year process comes from 49. And that may be a clue to the Bob Dean aspect. I'm not sure. And but it's so accurate.
If Bob Dean is watching this, what would you say to him? What could possibly help him now out of this morass?
I'd like to know if he is cognizant of what happened to him in '66.
Probably not.
Because then he might be able to tell me what happened to me. So if we ever can find him, and I remember that I heard that Bob Dean visited Reverend Stang on October 28, 1988, and he has never been seen since. And I'd like to find out where he is if he's still. Actually, we're going on tour to find Bob Dean's body.
Okay. So you disappear, but you come back.
That's
you
only
simply disappeared.
I never disappeared.
Is that the example of genius versus subgenius?
Who disappeared?
Geniuses just disappear, whereas the subgenius keeps coming back.
Very good. I accept that. I've laid down the archetype of the action. I was the first one to reappear under electric conditions.
As a process?
Yes. As a process.
Is it a learnable process?
Learnable?
Yeah.
That's what my agenda is.
Do you want to teach it?
Well, that's what the liner notes are on the first memo, is to lay out the 10 holy offices. You got to go into those holy offices. LaRouche,
Lyndon LaRouche.
Oh, we go through them. Marshall McLuhan, Herbert W. Armstrong, the Worldwide Church of God, Lyndon LaRouche, Frank Zappa, Mae Brussel, Dr. Beater, Finnegan's Wake, Cosmic Awareness, Garrett Dean. Now there's the Dean, though it's not spelt the same as Bob Dean, it's D-E-A-N-E. But he lived in Dartmouth. And Garrett Dean, and then Club 22,
right,
which becomes later Club 14. I would say the seminars that Jerry offers are the Club 14 seminars, whereas the memo indicates a Club 22. Both are necessary because the tetrad is you enhance 22, you obsolete 7, so forget about being lucky. The subgenius does not need luck. He or she is already lucky, or it is already lucky. But you will have to retrieve 18 and move into 14. Atlantis is 22, Lemuria is 14.
So you make the numbers intimate, part of you, whereas everybody else plays the numbers as just a lotto that's very distant and vague.
As a
pie in the sky.
Aristotle version of tetrad
TV
management.
religion. Early Sunday on the radio, transposed
Bad
overnight.
tetrad management. I want to emphasize that.
Okay, so
because it's dealing with content. Number is tactile, therefore popular in the tactile environment. But you've got to be a visionary with number and realize how it represents the corporate archetypes of the grounds that we've evolved through in the cycle of civilization laid out in the 10 thunders of Finnegan's Wake.
talk about Joyce and Finnegan's Wake for a moment.
Oh, when I knew Joyce, see, it's incredible when...
Did you know him in Paris?
Oh, yeah, see...
Or Zurich?
No, I knew him he was in Paris in 1922. So I met him in, I think when I was 10, 11, 12, in the early 30s.
Waiting for Godot was originally written in French by Joyce's former secretary, Samuel Beckett.
Ooh, Beckett was there.
Why did he write that? Did you tell him to write it in French?
That's Waiting for Babo. But it became Godot with the G factor, which relates back to Grant Brennan and Garrett Dean. Why this letter G, the 7th letter? Maybe it's the obsolescence of G, the obsolescence of 7.
Or giving them the image of luck to hang on to.
Yes.
By retrieving that 7.
The point is that Beckett talked about Waiting for Godot is him and Joyce talking about Bob as a young kid. All right? And they're waiting for him. He says, is it possible that a person could retrieve themselves?
Oh, interesting, there's a Lucky in the play.
Ooh,
a character named Lucky.
Yeah, which doesn't work. He doesn't make it. He's the obsolete 7. He's the old subgenius through history, but not the necessary subgenius who is spin awake or subgenius awake, which is necessary when Bob reappears. Or that's what Bob will evoke, to reawake the subgeniuses. To use an old Tom Touche phrase, he was very bureaucratic, Touche. Comprehensive awareness, he used to say. We want comprehensive awareness.
Is such a thing possible under electric conditions?
This is the drama.
Well, who cares?
Oh, listen, the drama between Bob and Connie, which was subconscious.
This is the key to this show.
Yeah, the drama, the violence,
tension.
The violence and tension in the lives from 1977 and 1990 was acting out. Will Bob reappear? When Bob successfully reappeared in 1990, thanks to Connie discovering the cure for every disease known to man, all right?
Including the electric environment?
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Yes.
So you give the woman full credit.
She deals with the users of the electric environment. The disease is implanted in the old body. I deal with...
She helps the users, you help.
The form. I manage when we turn on and turn off. TV, which you talk about in your logo at the end. But the battle between Bob and Connie, the unknowing, became certain in 1990 that it was successful. So the fact that the triumph, this is, you know, the Berlin Wall and the euphoria of '89 was a manifestation of the euphoria of lockdown Bob rule imminent. Right. Because Bob had, by 1990, successfully reappeared, and Connie with him, and therefore that means you all have a good chance of reawakening. Because I did it. That's a heroic quest that I did.
Ich bin ein Exist.
Searchers ended in 1990.
Interesting.
1956. What's that, 34 years? Now, it was about 1934, when I was 12, that I got involved with Joyce. And you come back to Beckett, and Joyce did not know that I was involved with Wyndham Lewis. And I used to say...
A fascist?
Oh, not really.
Oh,
but
that's the cover story.
Lewis made the breakthrough that Joyce translated back into verbal collage, linguistic collage. And he knew it by reading some of Lewis's essays. No, he didn't read Lewis's essays because of the problem, but I would slip little quotes from Lewis's essays to Joyce while he's trying to figure out why he was writing Finnegan's Wake.
And you also turned them onto the accidental random factor that you would learn for Sam with Duchamp. Because there's the famous story when Beckett is transcribing some of Finnegan's Wake, Joyce answers the phone, and Beckett throws the conversation into that.
Yeah. Duchamp,
unaware that it was the phone call.
You have to look at Duchamp as the public manifestation of Garrett Dean, because Duchamp acted and lived like Garrett in New York in the 20s and 30s, and I think on the public pink level, Duchamp is manifesting the real meaning of Garrett, who, representing Bob, the personal connection for me, in Nova Scotia, the fact that Garrett could never be known publicly, he wrote poetry, but he demanded to be published after he died, not while he was alive. He was into being anonymous. That represented the anonymity that Bob and Connie had to go through, as expressed in Harlot's Ghost, behind-the-scenes people up till 1990. You see, so Duchamp represents the reflection of an anonymous, powerful force or current in the world. The
Much
random
like Bob
factor.
in Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Now, Bob in Twin Peaks. So that's the electric environment. That's me. That is Cooper, who is the Bob Dobbs' friend. Bob Marshall, the journalist, who was excerpted on the album under an international connection where he talks about May Brussel, a May Brussel pattern.
What was your connection with May?
She knew exactly who did what to anything. She
a lot of it is the Nazis and transplanted Nazis.
That's
Reinhard
into complexity.
Reinhard Gehlen and all those people.
Otto von Bolswing, that was the key guy. Everything happened in '53. He came here in '53, took over the Gehlen network. But May understood who killed Kennedy. And she was given a bit of help with me, but I didn't want to help her totally because she had such a great...
Did you tell her that you were involved in that? And how was she with that?
May died.
Did you elucidate, or did you...
No, listen.
Were you sent to defuse her for some reason?
This is for future, this is postgraduate intimate knowledge to talk about my relationship with the Holy Office and what happened. If you notice, many of them died at a certain point.
Right.
And it's often when Bob fill in the blanks. Now, the point is, the thing is that May, she was a Gemini. She was a searcher, and she...
So was Karina in Conjure. What is Connie?
What is Connie?
What is Connie in terms of astrological aspect?
Oh, you mean the sign?
Yeah, the sign.
She's on the cusp between Pisces and Aries. She's the first day of spring, March 20th.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, the thing was that, which is what she is for a woman. She'll be the first day of spring as a whole.
Spring the Pentangle.
Yeah. The Pentagon, you know. Spring the
Put
Pentagon.
it down.
Yeah. Now, the thing about May is that she searched, and I didn't want to ruin her own Gemini quest. She was born the same day as John Kennedy.
Oh, that's right.
And as the guy who shot Reagan, John...
Hinckley.
And the day that the British guy conquered Mount Everest in 1953. Hillary. And I think it's Bob Hope's birthday. There's so much in that
And
date.
Bob is the only Hope.
Yeah, that's right.
And the only artist.
The ex-Jesus.
I'm the greatest artist, but Bob is the only artist.
Alive. Yeah, hoping to bring you great artists back. See? And there's hope for you because I did it. For me. Now, that means you can do it.
I feel a personal hope.
If you follow the theorem lattice, this is where LaRouche's geometry is very important. He explains the conic section leading to the singularity of 1990. The conic section, notice that.
What is the story with LaRouche, though? Here you have shutting down Columbia University in the year of the monkey, 68. And what's all these presidential bids? What was that about?
Satirizing the fact that Frank Zappa was running for president all the time. And see, if you look at the tetrad, Frank and LaRouche are very intimate. If you look at the liner notes, They are in the period 1945 to 1960. But
There's a
that's
tension between the two, and that's probably another show.
When on January 22nd, when I did a show here, the first show here in LA in '94, after Frank died, I laid out with Dave Porter the whole reality of the dialectic between Frank and LaRouche, how they tackled the same question. And there's more to be said on future shows on that. But what are we... Mae Brussel, the point is, I did not want to ruin her life quest by telling her what happened. I just had the pleasure of coming and seeing her every now and then, and she'd tell me what she found out.
Okay.
And I had the beauty, the ecstasy, the sex of her. I could see she was on the right path.
The Bob Warm.
Yeah, she was following the hypothesis of the higher hypothesis, and she was going to figure it out. And when Marshall McLuhan met Mae, after she died...
Is she one of the first people to give Bob information on something?
Yes, I let her have that illusion. You know, and yet all at the same time, like in our interaction, we co-create. I learned new things about what I knew that I didn't know from Mae, because she was a metaphor to transform things.
You can take turns signing or pointing.
Right, right.
And I can nod when I can.
That's that's what Tom Touche writes about me as the only artist alive, all about the not forging signatures, but reading the signatures. You know, in this world of
aloud.
In this world of bimodernism or sign switching within the larger quadrophenia. So schizophrenia is accepted. Quadrophenia is me.
Quadrophenia being a tetrad.
Mae Brussel died in 1988. Marshall died in 1980. They met in...
Brennan died in 1980.
Yes, 3 weeks before Marshall. And they met on the astral plane, and through the X's, Marshall walked up to Mae and said, "Congratulations, you were the first, you were the closest in figuring out who killed JFK."
And thus one of the closest in understanding Bob.
Ooh.
Bob made flesh.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brennan.
you for joining us in this Communion of the Spirit. We'll be back next week with even more Bob, now that Bob is here in the body in your home. Here in the body and in your home.
Congratulations, Tom.
Everything you know is Bob. Thank you, Bob, for being on. See you next week. Cleared.
We're making
Cinematic history.
One thing when you go into that you can tell the incident about
Jerry Garcia.
The next show is Zappa Garcia.
Yeah.
and he's gonna have his Bob intelligence shirt on. So it's back to that like.
I'm going to get up and... Jerry, you want to help me with this?
Yep, I'm gonna help you.
Tell us, bro.
Yeah, I'll have my shorts on too. It's gonna be Bob. It's gonna be Bob. Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. To do it.
Bob in 66. You're like, don't raise it. I'm going to take the camera.
Focus is